I'm normally not for regulating individuals and not big corporates.
Politicians are generally in it for themselves, and they look after themselves first and everyone else second. So
Do you think it's really for the citizen or is more for multi-big national?
I think they're catering for multinationals more than citizens.
Hello, folks. Did you know Quebec carbon taxing, pipeline blocking, green premiere allow a major company to emit deadly chemical into the atmosphere? What a hypocrite. Premier Legault is one of Canada's premier, frequently promoting the use of green energy and taking action against climate change.
It's a transition, and of course I want to reduce the consumption of oil, for sure.
Quebec was one of the provinces that took part in the United Nations Climate Change Summit in Glasgow in November 2021 to, as he say, put some pressure on all head of state. Legault even sent his wife as one of the delegates paid for by the taxpayer. Quebec wants to reduce its GHG emission by 37.5% from 1990 level by 2030. Another good example of the 2030 agenda, as we see with the Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte and his crushing nitrogen target, which are causing a farmer rebellion in the Netherlands. You can see the work of my colleague on the ground in Holland at farmerrebellion.com. Last October, Mr. Legault announced he would severely limit the extraction of hydrocarbon to put Quebec on the path to a green economy.
Il y a des métaux stratégiques comme le lithium qui peuvent servir à développer les batteries et permettre éventuellement une plus grande électrification de nos transports.
He also emphasized the promotion of electric car and the production of battery for means of transportation.
On est en train de lancer un grand chantier qui va faire partie de l'histoire du Québec. Un chantier qui va être bon pour la planète, mais un chantier qui va aussi changer la face de notre économie.
But we are here in the presence of a person with double standard as with most politicians. I will explain. Last June, we learned that the former director of public health, Horacio Arruda, would have withdrawn an important appendix on the impact of arsenic emission from the Horn smelter on the health of the population of Rouyn-Noranda. The allegations are that he withdrew the data to hide the higher incidence of lung cancer in Rouyn-Noranda than elsewhere in Quebec. The data point to the arsenic emitted by the Horns smelter as an aggravating factor. This smelter belonged to a multinational company, Glencore. It is the only copper smelter in Canada and expect a net profit of approximately 18 billion US this year. Currently, the recorded arsenic emissions are 33 times higher than the standard imposed by the government. This is unfortunately result in a decrease in life expectancy of about 5 years, according to population health monitoring data. Not to mention the number of citizens who develop lung cancer in Rouyn-Noranda is higher than anywhere else in the province. The multinational has agreed to reduce these emissions. To do so, the smelter must undertake modification that will cost approximately $500 million and is now asking for government assistance to retrofit the smelter. Mr. Legault has said he is prepared to provide some funding in the budget to reduce emission. Okay, wait a minute here. Will taxpayer pay to subsidize a multinational company making a net profit of 18 billion US this year to reduce toxic arsenic emission impacting citizen lives? The company is making enough net profit to deal with this problem, especially since it has been violating emission standard for many years without the citizen knowing what they are exposed to and without having had any penalties. Even the new director of public health, Dr. Legault, mentioned that it was necessary to have social acceptability to decide what was acceptable for the level of arsenic emission. To my knowledge, I don't know many people who would like to see more arsenic in the air. What's the argument against fixing this problem? We just spent 2 years shutting down the world to combat a respiratory illness, right? Where is the same effort to combat arsenic poisoning that could be causing lung cancer? And the cherry on top of the sundae here is what happened last April. Mr. Legault decided, despite the opposition of his 18 regional public health departments, to authorize an increase of more than 5 times the nickel standard in the atmosphere in Quebec. We are talking about Quebec City here, the most beautiful city. This is the same multinational, Glencore, that is responsible for the nickel emission in Quebec City and complain about the low limit allowed in February. It should be noted that the atmospheric dust of nickel in Quebec is not the same as in Europe. The latter cause respiratory irritation, while that found in Quebec is associated rather with lung cancer. Mr. Legault, to reach a certain objective, supposedly for the good of the population, especially with the problem of climate change, and to satisfy multinational, makes decision at the expense of the health of his population. Is this not hypocritical? Decided to hinder the life of his own citizen to feed big corporation. It is not a nationalist, but rather a globalist. I will quickly ask the opinion of Quebecers on this political, medical nonsense. Let's check it out. Is permitted to big company, multinational company as Glencore to release in the atmosphere 5 times the emission of nickel permitted by the government, and as well arsenic emission that we saw in Rouen-Noranda. What do you think about that?
I don't understand fully what you said, but I mean, it's just the politics of the world. It's never going to change. There's always going to be people exploiting other people. People can come together and try and help as much as they can, but you know, you're fighting a losing battle. So
I think it's a shame.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent of climate change and doing the right thing for the world and this beautiful place that is welcoming us.
I'm normally not for regulating individuals and not big corporates.
politicians are generally in it for themselves, and they look after themselves first and everyone else second. So
Do you think it's really for the citizen, or is more for multi-big national?
I think they're catering for multinationals more than citizens.
So at Rebel News, we are celebrating summer, and if you go to rebelnewsstore.com with the code SUMMER, if you buy 2 t-shirt unisex, you get 1 for free, and we are shipping everywhere around the world. So let's get your next t-shirt for spending the summer.